Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Marketing Happy Hour. I am Dr. Christopher Vogelmann of drvogelmann.com, our coaching group for doctors who want more free time, freedom, and fun, and also the CMO of Maximize Your Media, which is our digital agency where we provide services for the same group of doctors. And with me, I'm going to introduce you, John, first, down in there, because I'm used to
Wherever
seeing...
I am, I'm over here. Hey, how's everybody doing? I'm John Paduchak, and Videos Are Social, video marketing expert over here in the Boston area. And we do the social media posting as part of our agency. And let's do it. Here we are.
And with us from last week is Kayvon.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. This is Kayvon. I'm a coach to entrepreneur. I'm an execution coach. I help entrepreneurs get things done, get unstuck, and get back on track. I help overworked entrepreneurs to be more effective. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
We're happy to have you.
And we're happy to have you. And with us, a blast from the past.
Yeah, who's this guy?
Hey guys, what's up? I'm back on the Marketing Happy Hour for the first time in a while. I'm Cam from epicconversions.com, digital publishing and consulting, and I just started a new podcast called One Step Away. So that's what I'm doing right now.
and I've only listened to one episode number 11, but it was very influential and I really enjoyed it.
Hey, thanks a lot, Doc. Appreciate it, man.
It was good. In fact, you and I have the same coach, Sam Crowley, only you actually pulled the trigger on the podcast, and I've got a bunch that are sitting in the can ready to be released. So
Yeah, man, Sam was, well, you already know, Sam has done some amazing stuff, and I took his workshop, and I don't know, I just knew I wanted to do another podcast in 2021, but I needed to know, like, I hadn't answered those questions yet of like, well, what's the format look like?
Right.
What is the point of it? What am I pushing people at? What does the funnel look like for it? I knew it needed to be adjusted from the last podcast I did. And helped me answer a lot of those questions. So yeah, it was cool, man.
That's great. So today we're speaking of similar connections that we have. We're talking about connecting with people and how making better connections with folks will help you to deepen your business relationships and make things happen a lot faster for you. So I'm just going to open this up to all of you. What is one of your favorite ways of connecting with people? And then later we'll go into the platforms. Like, what are your favorite platforms? John, anything? You like videos. They're social, aren't they?
They are. I mean, I totally like videos. I have a lot of ways that I connect with people. And I'm testing, aside from Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. But I'm testing a new one called Lunch Club that it kind of popped my way. A friend of mine recommended to me, and it's where folks meet over lunch and get to network, which is kind of cool.
But you're not physically showing up for lunch.
No, I'm virtually showing up for lunch.
You're Zoom lunching.
Virtually showing up for lunch, and it's kind of fun because you get to meet with people from all over, just like we typically do. So,
now is it like how does that look, John? When you get on Lunch Club, is it like you got a bunch of people who are just like meet? It's like a meetup, like once a day or whatever.
No, it's more like it's kind of funny. I met my wife through a video dating service way back in the day, and my other best friend met his wife through lunch dates, and it's very similar to that concept in that what you do is you go in, you fill out a profile, and you tell people what you're interested in. I went through and said I'm a video marketer, I'm in the Boston area, some of the different things that I do, and some of my hobbies, that I like RVing and hiking, and I'm a real outdoors guy, do a lot of passion project filming and stuff, and they connect you with somebody to have lunch with.
That's awesome, dude.
And you can pick as many of those as you like, and it's pretty cool.
That's at lunchclub.com.
I think I'll send you a link. I don't think it's lunchclub.com. I can't remember the exact link. And I'm just getting set up on it. I'm really excited about it.
That's cool,
One
man.
of my friends recommended it to me. I'm supposed to have my first Lunch Club lunch tomorrow, but unfortunately, the guy that I was meeting with had an emergency pop up.
Oh,
so
man,
I got one on Saturday. But it's pretty neat because I've heard really great things from it. In fact, my friend was telling me about this guy. He met somebody, figured it was going to be more of a kind of mentoring connection. And he actually got the largest piece of business he'd gotten from anybody as a referral from this other person that was a copywriter. So it can be a lot of things for a lot of people, depending on what you're looking for.
I believe it's by invite only at this stage, isn't it? You have to invite your friends, because after you mentioned that, I realized
I'm not sure.
it sounds familiar. So I just checked, and I do have an account. I have been on one meeting,
Awesome.
but I see a link over there that it's by invite only, and you can invite your friends.
This sounds like Clubhouse all over again.
It does. But that's all right.
Except more specific and a little more narrowed and
Maybe
focused.
it's a lunch clubhouse.
Much
The lunch
more-
clubhouse?
Lunch clubhouse. Much more narrowed. I think it's a great thing. You and I have talked a lot, Doc, about setting up networking group meetings and stuff, because
Right.
I think people are starved to make connections. And this is just yet another nice way that somebody came up with to do
Well,
that.
if you're starved, you can go over to have lunch.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good. It's good. I like it.
What's all around?
So, Kayvon, what are some of your favorite methods or strategies of connecting?
Well, I have to say I'm more interested to learn here, because this is not an area that I'm good at.
Oh.
Right. So I have looked at a bunch of different things. I know that what not to do. Like, for example, don't start with a dad joke. That doesn't.
Yeah.
Oh,
go well.
no, you start with stepdad jokes. It's a little different.
Yeah. But I find if we are here to help someone or contribute and that sort of thing, that always goes well.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, I had a Zoom call with someone who reached out to me on LinkedIn, and it was all about, let's see what's going on with you and your business, if there is anything that I can help you with or point you towards someone. So we spent some time. There is nothing, what he needs is not what I can offer, but I am now on the lookout to find people that I can help him. So I think that sort of thing can work. But again, I don't think this is something that I'm very good at.
Well, I think it's actually sort of a learned skill, but I love the idea that you said, if I can't help you, I can point you in the direction of somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
That's always valued tremendously. I remember years ago, I referred a patient to a completely different doctor, to a neurologist who took care of them. And that patient, who was only with me for a little while, just sent a ton of referrals because I sent him to someone who could really help him.
Yeah, great.
So I think some of the rules I used to have were things like, if you just kind of focus on your intention. I like the idea of being able to connect to effect, so that you can have, I do this always. I take my little Post-it notes and just keep writing stuff down before we go live. And one of the things that I remember is that the idea you're talking about, Kayvon, which is just to be helpful and to be kind. I think, as opposed to being the smarmy salesperson who tries to sell life insurance at a Christmas party.
And he had value. You added value to that person.
Another thing that Kayvon said I thought was really interesting was Kayvon said, "Hey man, this isn't my specialty. I'm really kind of here to learn. I want to hear what other people have to say." And I think that someone who is able to say something like that, that's very endearing to people. People gravitate towards people like that, who aren't they don't have to be the smartest guy in the room. They don't have to know everything. People gravitate towards people like that because they can relate to them. So.
Well, and I think that's the authentic person. You're not pretending to be some superstar 8-figure marketer when you're not.
Yeah.
And you're not trying to hold yourself above other people. If you're always here to learn, I learn from every single person I meet almost every day. Even if somebody gets me pissed off, I learn that I have an anger problem that I need to take care of.
I learn a lesson every day.
Yeah.
Especially when I drive.
When you're driving.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't done a lot of driving the last several months here. In fact, I'm shocked. I think we probably drove 1,000 miles over the course of 6 months.
I am saving a lot of money.
And that's with 2 cars.
Yeah, I agree.
So how has things been going with the marketing happy hour since I left?
Well, it got so much better when you left that we continue to.
That's exactly what my ex-wife told me. I've heard this before.
No, we actually missed you because you always give us a different perspective. I think it's that Ohio charm that we were missing, the Midwestern charm.
Well, I just want you guys to know, like, it was nothing like anything about the show or any of you guys. It was just like I knew that, like, I was amping up for the second half of the year.
Yeah,
And I had a lot of launches I wanted to do, and I just knew I was going to be really busy. So that's why I had to like back out of the shows for the second part of the year. But I tried to keep in contact with everybody and share the show.
Yeah. Well, you did have a lust for launching, from what I recall. Yeah.
You know, it would be good if he, on the Marketing Happy Hour, we have a session that Cam can summarize lessons learned from all of these launch activities.
Yeah, sure, man. No problem.
Yeah.
To answer your question about the other thing you were talking about with the just connecting with people, like, man, I still feel like and I know this is kind of beating a dead horse a little bit, but I feel like email is just like the core of everything that I do. So it's like, I try to put people on my email list, and I get the best connection with people through email. A lot of times that leads to buying transactions. So, but as far as like the social media, I mean, obviously you guys know YouTube and Facebook are the kings. But anywhere that has like, this is just my personal experience and opinion and completely empirical data here. But like I find that like, if there's a place, right, and it's got a lot of people, like Substack, for example, has quite a bit of people there. It's a hot commodity. It's on the rise, but still pretty unknown to a lot of people. But there's a lot of people there. So like, you can't just like take a piece of content. All right, well, this is something I'm on YouTube, and I'm going to share it on Facebook, and I'm going to share it on Substack. But I don't really hang out on Substack a lot. I don't really mess with it. I just share my content there. Like, you're not going to experience growth. You're not going to grow an audience like that. You just really have to like be all in with that platform and commit to it to grow organically, unless you're just running paid ads. So.
Hey, Cam, forgive my ignorance, but what is Substack?
What's a Substack?
Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah,
full stack or half a stack?
No. Yeah,
it's a $5 special at Subway.
Yeah. No, this is cool. Okay, so Substack is a newsletter platform. It's Substack, Substack.com, and this is a really interesting place because it's basically like a blog, a newsletter, a podcast. It's a few things rolled into one, right? Because with Substack, you can publish a newsletter like every day, for instance. But for people to read your newsletter, they're pushed into subscribing to your newsletter. And when they subscribe, they're sent your newsletter by email. So it's a true email newsletter. However, your newsletters that you publish, they're searchable on Substack. People can find through keywords and search for newsletters on Substack so they can find your stuff. And newsletters and posts that are doing well, they rise to the top on Substack so people see them. Things that are getting more engagement rise to the top. So you can pull organic traffic from that platform, and you can grow an email list from that platform. So it's pretty awesome, man. And also you can do podcasts from there too. So
is this marketing only, or are there other
anything? Matter of fact, most of the newsletters that I see on there right now are topical. So like basically news topical, right? What's relevant in the world today, whether it's political, I mean, a lot of the real sub niche down stuff are just they're open game for anybody to come in there and just take over.
Nice.
So
we have to check that out.
Yeah. Do you think there's a place for a Mexican food blogger?
Oh, absolutely. I'm not even joking. Absolutely.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's food, right? Number one, everyone loves food.
Yeah.
Number two, it's niche down. So I think with Substack, there's an amazing potential. It's a growing platform, and I think there's an amazing potential for people to come in there with their sub niches and really establish themselves right now. So
that's a neat idea. Who's behind it?
I can't remember. I don't know who exactly is behind it. It's not like a big name like Facebook or YouTube or anything.
It's a guy named Ralph.
Yeah, it's a guy named Ralph. You could find the information pretty easy. If you go, sorry, go ahead, guys. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
I'm rambling on now.
you're fine. You're fine.
Ramble away.
Ramble away.
I published my company published 2 courses on Substack.
Wow.
One was called Fat Stacks, and it was more of like a hey, it was behind a blind sales page, so it was kind of like a more of a secrets kind of course. Hey, let me show you this really cool secret. So the secret was, hey, look at this underutilized platform called Substack. It's on the rise. Check it out. And then I built like a kind of a system around it that people could utilize to really use it to grow with their business. And then I came back the next month and I did something called newsletters on Substack. And it was basically like a training program. It just really went in deep and taught people how to use the platform. And it had PLR rights. So it was a PLR type product.
Yeah.
Unbranded.
That's so cool. That is great. Yeah. I think I even saw one of your emails come through that said something about Substack. Like, what the heck? I have no idea what a Substack is. So ignore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's always something, right? There's always something. That's the kind of the cool thing about, I think, working online and being in I can't even say in marketing, right? Because being online in almost all these niches, there's always new things happening because the world is so connected. Everyone has opinions on everything, and it's nuts, man.
Son of a niche.
A lot of things.
Yeah.
A lot different than when I was a kid. I know that. I mean, when I was, geez, man, I couldn't even imagine growing up in the world today. It must just be a really confusing situation, you know?
It's not confusing at all. You do your Zoom classes, and then as soon as you can, you run out and play some basketball, and then you go on to video games for the next 5 hours.
That's true.
I mean, hey, listen, man, we can't even agree on pronouns today, let alone anything else, man. I mean, it's, you know.
I prefer amateur nouns to pronouns because they're a little more.
Yes.
They're a little less assuming.
It's just complicated, man. I mean, it's just the complicated world. I mean, we were watching this documentary today about the environment and stuff. And I guess I was looking at it and we were like down to 23% of our wild places in the world. We're down to 23% compared to the 90s when I was a young man, graduated high school in 94. I think we were at like 45 or almost 50% of our wild places. And I'm just thinking in my mind, like, wow, the world has changed so much just since I was in high school. But I don't know. I guess that's off topic. But
you said something interesting in there, as in world must feel like a scary place to them. And I don't think so, because I was reading this, I don't know, was an article or somewhere that, as we grow up, our brains developed based on this stimulus, external stimulus and culture and family and that sort of thing. So our generation, my generation, we did a lot of learning with actual physical books, physical dictionary, physical encyclopedia, and that sort of thing. So we learned to go deeper on a topic, but we're not that good as in connecting ideas together, because books didn't have hyperlinks. So as you are following up some topic and click on it and go to another one and go to another one. So that's how our brain developed like that. But the new generation, because they're electronic and, you know, this whole idea of existence of hyperlink, they are not going as deep on understanding something, but they are much better in connectivity. They're both connectivity in their brain and how they can connect different ideas together. So they are making us a sense of the world with that kind of a perspective and that kind of a point of view. But the way that brain works obviously is far into the way that my brain was brought up and programmed. So there are many things that I may not understand or sound confusing or, I don't know, scary or whatever to me, but I'm guessing it's similar to a generation or two before me. When they look at me, I just type something in my computer, email, and next second it's somewhere else, and they compare it to the world that there was physical mail and other things. And this didn't make sense. This was just in the air. What do you mean you just send a message to someone and 3 minutes later you got a message and that person is on the other side of the world? So I thought that was very intriguing concept that, going deeper versus more connectivity between ideas and knowledge.
This is your brain on books.
Yeah.
Any questions?
That's funny you should say that, because
well said, Kayvon.
a friend of mine who was also my mentor, helps me with a lot of stuff, and he's in his 70s, and he pops over from time to time and he watches how I work online with people, and I'm doing everything virtual, and you just watch his eyes pop out like, wow, I can't believe I'm seeing like all this kind of happen like this. I'm used to going and knocking on doors and meeting people face to face. It's quite a thing to watch. It's very similar.
That's why we gotta see, man. The exact thing you guys are talking about. That's why we gotta keep the doors of communication open between the young people and the old people, between the Republicans and the Democrats, between all these different viewpoints, they're coming from all these different age ranges. I mean, we gotta be able to. I was talking about this the other day with my family. Like, we have to be able to talk to each other without disagree, with like being okay that we're disagreeing with each other, but still have like a conversation.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like, I'm not always going to have to like sway you to my way of thinking for us to be able to connect and have an intelligent conversation. We might be able to teach each other something.
Yeah, it's like that habit of first try to understand, then to be understood.
Yeah.
So I guess a good advice to give, receive, and follow is be curious.
Yeah,
And
your
practice.
natural curiosity.
There we go.
You're right,
No doubt.
We're on the
No
same
doubt.
wavelength. I like that, actually.
Well said, guys. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. But with Substack, that's a cool place, man. It's a good place to find some connection. If we're talking about trying to find some new people to connect to, it's a good spot. There's some other ones. I didn't come prepared.
Are you on? Well, I didn't come prepared either. Are you on Clubhouse, Cam, or no?
I'm not on Clubhouse. I mean, I've heard a lot of people talking about Clubhouse.
I have an invitation. I will send you one. It's funny because you can have some amazing conversations with people whom you would never connect with in the real world.
Wow.
And yeah, I was just on today with Grant Cardone and Jay Abraham. Rich Sheffrin's been in there a few times, and Damon John was answering questions, from Shark Tank, and it's very interesting. It's great, but you have to get them off that platform because it's so incredibly addictive. John hooked me up with them on New Year's Day, and I didn't do anything for a while. And now I'm just connecting with people back and forth. And once people get to know you, and when they encourage people to follow each one, it's a very, very interesting way because it's an audio only platform. And Kayvon, John, and I have been playing with the idea of creating some rooms, and you can schedule rooms on topics even like this that we're talking about. There's a lot of marketers in there right now, but there are also, it's in beta still, so it's not open to the public. As time goes on, you probably will find the Mexican Food Club or the Deep Sea Fishing Club, or there's going to be any number of different types of clubs and groups.
There is one of those.
Oh, there is?
There is an RVers club.
Okay.
I hate when places are like an invitation only, man. It's kind of annoying, honestly.
Well, it's in a very early stage. So the invite only is just they want to kind of, they're hoping that their members are going to vet the people who are coming on to improve the quality at the beginning.
It seems like it's working.
It is working.
Well.
It's growing exponentially. And one of my friends, Alicia Little, and it was Coach Deb. I can't remember Deb's last name, but they just created a really good manual on utilizing Clubhouse, and I think it's about to go on sale in the Amazon Kindle area if it hasn't already gone on sale. I got to get a hold of that one because there's do's and don'ts and etiquette just like any other type of platform. But my DMs on Instagram have been blowing up in the last couple of days because I started participating.
So we cannot message on Clubhouse directly, right?
No. You send them to Twitter or to Instagram at this point.
So can you ping someone and basically call them on?
Well, you can ping them into a room, which is different.
Which is if they accept and they come to that room. Now you're talking.
Yeah.
You're talking not one-on-one, but so for example, our very first and only room thus far that we have created was between John, Kayvon, and myself, and that was on a Friday evening. And because I had never spoken to Kayvon before, we just knew each other through the chat in Rich Sheffrin's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
how cool was that?
Yeah,
a lot of people meet on Rich Sheffron's lives.
Oh yeah,
He's awesome.
He's actually brought a lot of us together, and
Yeah.
several other people, other marketers I know who have connected with me offline, and it's really quite curious to see how someone like that with sufficient reach it's almost like side coaching. It's side connecting, that somebody sees somebody in a comment and then they can't connect. That's how John and I connected. It was in the comment section of a live from Eric Louvier, right?
Yeah. Hey, look how this came back around.
It's just this. Oh, the circle won't be broken.
Back into networking all over.
It's a circular networking. I mean, we all got here through this circular networking purely on digital platforms.
It is weird how that happens though sometimes. So
none of us had meet and greeting. We haven't met face to face.
No, we have not. And
in the
fact,
real world. In the real world.
Even weirder is the fact that you and I both grew up in Western New York.
Yeah.
You lived in my area. I've never lived in California, but
no, I'm a Buffalo boy. Go Bills.
Yeah.
Another thing interesting about that is, like, I now know that John lives in Boston area or Boston, but before this I didn't know. So what I'm saying is, what we care about these days is which time zone you're in.
Exactly.
We don't care about, like, okay, where is that? South, north, which city, we don't care. Just tell me your time zone so we don't mix things up.
Yeah, right. because I'm not that much in favor of dealing with people from Newfoundland, because it's like 4.5 hours from here.
Yeah. What up with that? Make up your mind, people.
You're not geographically desirable anymore. You're time zone dependent. So,
and I heard that there's which state is that half of the year they are Pacific
time. There's more than one. Indiana does that, and so does Arizona. Yeah. Arizona switches back and forth. And we all know from the Marketing Happy Hour that Hawaiian Standard Time stays the same. So they never change to daylight savings time. But it's interesting that you say that, John, about connections with respect to geography, because so John and I are both from Western New York, but he fled Western New York after the Rochester Institute of Technology to go to the Boston area. Then he wound up in New Hampshire, and he's a turncoat going from a Buffalo Bills fan to a New England Patriots fan. So despite
Bills fan at heart,
despite his closet Bill fandom, he would always show up with Patriot hats. Yeah. So I overlooked that difference. And maintained a connection on other things that we can agree on, some of the values of family and healthcare and things like that. But that's what we look for. We look for areas of commonality to make that initial connection.
Okay, because we do that with our friends anyway, right?
Yeah,
none of us has only one friend. We have different friends because we have all of these
I've got 3
overlaps.
I have 3.
Wow, you have so many friends.
Hey.
So my question is this, John. So here's my question: Are all the New England Patriot fans, are they all rooting for Tampa Bay right now and Tom Brady?
Oh,
you know what's fun? Here's a funny thing. So it's funny you should say that. I think we do have an alignment with Tom Brady. We like him. We know he works hard. And I personally think if you're an entrepreneur and you watch how hard this guy works, you can't help but like him. I mean, he's a likable dude. Now, my daughter happens to live now in the Tampa area, so I feel like I can root for Tom anyways, to a certain extent.
I got to root for him, man.
I feel like Buffalo because I grew up in the area, and I used to watch the Bills when they were horrible. So there you go.
I watch them if they're 4-12.
Yeah.
1-15.
That's how I am with the Browns, man.
I know. And I still maintain, this is way off topic. This is how we're connecting right now, which is with respect to
sports.
I still maintain the Browns could have easily beaten the Chiefs. They just had a couple missed opportunities.
I think so too, man. I think so too. I mean, don't even get me into that, man.
I personally wanted to see a reenactment of the War of 1812, the Battle of Lake Erie, which would be Cleveland.
That would have been awesome, man. That would have been awesome. That would have been in Buffalo too.
Indeed. Where the chicken wings are magnificent.
Oh man. Okay, well, let me just say this one thing, and I'll shut up about it. All right. If you watch the game, all right, on that play where he was heading in the end zone, he reached the football out. Old boy comes along and spearheads him with his helmet, and it ends up being a fumble. They recover the ball. Okay, if he wouldn't have made that play, if it wouldn't have been that illegal play, that would have been a touchdown. They only lost by 5 points. They would have won the game.
There you go.
So, well, I'll shut up about it. I'm not going to say anything else about it. I'm done.
Go Bills.
I'd like to use that as a segue to
Yes.
our topic today.
Yeah.
So what I don't know anything about sports. I don't follow them, and whatever everything that just Cam said is just was gobbledygook to me. So I didn't understand anything. But and we're talking about connections and connecting with other people.
Yeah.
So because I don't follow sports, and it was always interesting to me, how come, let's say, if it's about marketing, I follow this guy and I follow that guy. I'm interested in this, or if it's books or TV shows. So we go after quality or performance.
We do.
But when it comes to sports, we're not doing that. We are going based on geographical area, right? Just because I'm closer to these people, therefore I'm their fan. And all of the other people who live far away from me, they must be villains, right? Because they're on the other side. So how is that, connecting with other people based on commonality, like geographical or all of that? This is something that I find interesting. So I'm interested to know what are your thoughts around that?
It's funny you should bring that up, because there's actually a lot of times where sports aren't geographical. So, and I'm actually in a really big, I grew up in a not so big sports community. So now I'm in, like, Boston's got a team that's doing well for almost everything. Mm-hmm. It's a unique sports community, and people have even done Facebook groups on just Boston sports, and it's huge. It's a huge community, but a lot of people will like teams in areas that they don't live in. I mean, there's a lot of people around here who like the Yankees. We have fistfights in the streets over people who like the Yankees in Boston.
Especially with the way it is, with the
geographic,
players moving around, free agency and stuff, so people follow their players.
Yeah, right. And players moving from one place. Like, I like Tom Brady. I just like his work ethic. He's now in Tampa, but I'm here. But
I still follow the Lakers with LeBron James, just because he was for the Cavs and he won a championship in Cleveland and stuff. So I still follow him for.
So in connecting with other people, it's important to bring up what we both follow or both have common interests.
You always look for commonality. So I remember when I was, my favorite part of every patient encounter was the first visit, where I would do this consultation. And I would ask a series of questions about it. Where does it hurt? Is it sharp pain, achy, burning? But more than that, I would get into, do you have any children? Where are you originally from? Do you like this? Do you like that? And for me, that's always been something, and may have come, I don't think it came instinctively. I think it came because I would hear my dad in the home office always asking questions of people. So he practiced as a chiropractor for 62 years. And in the home office, I mean, hell, I was developing x-rays for him in the basement for 25 cents a set, just doing the dunking and things like that. But I do recall that he could connect with just about everyone. And my sister, Michelle, and better, she'll make a brand new friend standing in line at the bank, someone she's never met before. And so the joke with my wife Maggie and our 13-year-old is that when they see me off somewhere in the distance at a store or a shopping mall or even at the line at the DMV, is that where's Christopher? And they say, and Maggie will just say, oh, he's talking to his new best friend.
I have the same problem.
And so I think go back to that whole thing about a natural curiosity, and our intention is to do good, not to scam somebody. And I think that goes a long way to, I'm a big believer in sort of the vibratory nature of emotions, and maybe it's chemical, but you still can feel people even in Zoom calls and live streaming. You get a sense of who they are, their inflection. There's so many different signs and I don't want to say symbols, but there are these signs that we hear and the signs that we see. And I think that's the value of something like Clubhouse, was audio only. You can, without the video interference and the image, you can tell a lot about people just by their inflection and their tone.
Sure. Yeah, that reminds me of something that I read in a book, that it was about a study that they did. I think it was a Malcolm Gladwell book.
Mhm.
They did a study that they showed a couple discussing about something like whether or not we should get a dog, or something that's not an argument, and had people watch that video, and they are new couple, and predict in 15 years are they going to have a happy and successful marriage or relationship or not, just based on a very short video. You just watch them talk about something.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they did the same study, same video. People watch it with no audio, just look at them and make the same prediction. And amazingly, after 15 years, the predictions of both groups was very similar to each other.
Interesting. He's got some great books, man. I know I read Outliers and I read The Tipping Point. Both of those were fantastic by Gladwell. So you could definitely make you think. There's no doubt.
Yeah. And I heard something about him, about how he writes books, and which goes along with what we're talking about. He says, there's this topic that I want to write about. Obviously, he doesn't know everything about that. So what he does is he starts, his first step is to get really, really, really curious about that topic, and starts to think about it, or talk to other people and read about it. So his method of approaching something and going deep with it is based on that whole idea of, getting really, really curious about something and going deeper. And he comes out with these great books, which can be great connections in our case, right?
Yeah, definitely. And the funny thing is, this is a really great topic, because I was just reading the other day that the younger generations are having a lot of trouble connecting. We've never had so many tools to connect, but there's never been so much anxiety in the world, and just social isolation. And the younger generation have a real trouble. They're afraid to be on the phone a lot of the times. They don't even want to be on the phone, or even a text message or whatever.
It's true. I think that's one of the saddest things that I ever saw was it was a real photo of a teenage party from about, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago. And there were 2 couches, huge couches, and there were, I think, about 7 kids around those couches. And this party, they were all staring at their phones. That was just so emblematic of this. And I see this in our teenager too. Sometimes he's actually very personable, but so many people, so many of the kids in his grade are very, isolated, as you say. And I think we've missed out on getting that used to call it hand-to-hand combat when I was meeting new people all the time. But it wasn't really combat, but it was just the idea that you want to be able to look somebody in the eye, you want to be able to shake a hand, and you want to be able to carry on a conversation with somebody. But I think people are worried that they may not ask the right questions. Are people going to think I'm dumb? Who am I to ask? But a lot of those insecurities and those emotions are universal. I just think that there's something somehow missing by digitizing everything and not having a lot of in-person contact.
Yeah. It's funny.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah. Well, it makes me laugh. I was talking about my son the other day, who's on the autism spectrum. And he'll often say to me, well, Dad, I'm socially awkward and everything else. The kid walks up to people he's talking to them like nonstop. They're going to carry a conversation on with anybody. So much of it is it's just practice. It's just being active. It's just getting out there. And when you talk to people, and if you're the kind of person who does keep asking them questions, people like to talk to somebody who makes them feel like they're the most interesting person in the world.
That's the key.
That's the key. That's totally the key of what we like. And
we all want to talk about ourselves.
And he knows how to do that in spades. So every time he says I'm socially awkward, I laugh and I go, sure. Because he's really not.
But that is a mindset. Like I am. Anytime you say I am, you've attained an identity. Like I am a dieter. I am a drinker. I am a gambler. I am socially awkward. But it's a label that you can jettison and change your identity over time.
Sure.
Yeah, we heard somebody talking about the Enneagram test, and Rich mentioned it.
Yeah.
And the other day, I haven't done this before. The other day, I took my my test, and I was talking to Rich, and I mentioned that I'm a 4, and he's a 4 too. So obviously he studied it. He knows much more. I just took the test and read my report, and he said people who are 4, they are more acting more from their emotions, or they are aware of their emotional state. And for them to start behaving like, I think, ones, to redefine their I am, so switching from I am what I feel to I am what I do, is beneficial for them, because that could be complementary to who they are and make them more action oriented, and not only getting more stuff done, but also making them feel better about themselves and accomplishment and all of that. And that made so much sense. Like, I remember in my journal once I wrote how my productivity or how prolific I am has a direct relationship of how fulfilled I feel.
Wow.
So that I am statement, if we know where are we on that range, and which one is beneficial for us by repeating the I am statement. So redefining our sense of self, I guess, can bring us a lot of.
So you could change it to Kayvon that I am a connector.
I am a connector. Yeah.
Geez, I kind of wonder how big of a niche that's going to be within the next few years. Just, hey, all I do is specialize in teaching people how to communicate, soft skills, how to communicate with other people, how to make connections, how to move through a crowd, whether it's digital or whether it's in real life, without any kind of anxiety, or just effortlessly teaching people how to do that.
How to effortlessly engage at a cocktail party.
Yeah,
how to win friends and influence people.
How to win friends and influence people.
Throw out a little Dale Carnegie on them there.
And those skills are transferable to any industry and to any relationship. I mean, I think a lot of people, they go to dating apps because they're just afraid to meet somebody face to face.
And the same thing's true with social media. We're seeing a lot of stuff with LinkedIn, people trying to connect. And I don't know about you guys, but people trying to connect with you on LinkedIn. But I find it horrifying most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's not like, let me start a relationship or a conversation with you. It's, how do I sell you something in the shortest amount of time?
Yeah, here's my PDF, my webinar. Now.
Yeah, I just want to microwave you into submission. And
what was that phrase? Microwave you into submission?
Into submission.
I'm trying to get my head around that too.
I like that expression. I'm going to steal that one.
Well, we used to often talk about when you're communicating with people, you can't microwave your relationships.
That's right.
It's very true. You can't just do that. It just doesn't work. And
it's like trying to buy a can of InstaSpouse. That water,
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Have you guys seen the movie Ex Machina?
Yes. Yeah, I've seen that. That's scary, man. That's a scary movie.
But so that was the concept in the movie, that there is this robot, AI, and the whole concept is about making a genuine, real connection. Can you have a genuine connection with AI?
Mm-hmm.
So that, of course, is science fiction, but I find that question very, very intriguing.
What did that leave you with at the end of the movie, though? She ends up killing him and leaving. If I remember right, that's what happened in the movie. I say she, but it was the AI ends up. I think I'm remembering the right movie.
That means she achieves full humanity.
How?
Right?
She didn't like that guy. She didn't like that guy.
Wait. How is it that you dare engage in a spoiler alert since I haven't watched the movie?
No, I know, man. I'm sorry. I should not have said that, man. I am sorry.
Yeah, I remember one of these talk shows that the joke was scientists have been able to create a robot to recognize its own reflection in the mirror. And the talk show host said, and when it starts to hate what he sees in the mirror, he has achieved full humanity.
There you go.
Wow, that's cool, man. That's like it almost feels like a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
You remember that movie Him? Did you see that movie Him? It wasn't quite the same as Ex Machina, but it was similar. Where the guy falls in love with the AI, but the AI is just a voice in that movie. That's all it is a voice.
Mm-hmm. It's Clubhouse.
Yeah, it's the Clubhouse of movies.
The Clubhouse of movies.
Well, they are making robots and dolls. It started, I guess, from sex dolls, but they're actually making like companion dolls and that sort of thing. And with their AI, they continuously run algorithms to be the perfect friend or spouse or mate or that sort of thing for you.
Wow.
So that takes us away from connections with all of these imperfect, moody humans that we see out there. Because if you constantly, it's like that being hooked on sugar.
Yeah.
All the time. So that is what's scary to me, because that is already happening in the real world.
Yeah, it's not real. It's funny because like I remember when I was a kid, I shouldn't keep on saying I'm like the grumpy old man, like get off my lawn or something. But like when I was a kid, and you guys are all roughly the same age as me, but like when I was a kid, if you were afraid to talk to girls, if you were a shy guy, right, you eventually just had to get over that. You had to find a way to break through to the other gender, you had to figure out something, right? But now
you don't have
like, there's that it's like you just stay isolated, get yourself a robot or something.
But you just have to check those little boxes on a digital form and then submit. So.
Yeah.
What does that do?
I don't know. It's complicated. The world is complicated. When it comes to connecting, it seems like it's a different thing than what it was 20 or 30 years ago.
It's
So
more complicated to me.
I think my favorite Mexican food blogger is trying to ping me here, so I got to turn her off. I'm going to mute myself for a second here.
Trouble.
Hey, Kayvon, you ever notice that all these movies like Ex Machina, like none of them have happy endings? Like they all end bad.
Yeah, well, they all end bad or very real, and it seems that all happy endings are just fantasies. They're not real much. Right. Yeah. And I would like to see happy ending movies that they can actually really happen. This was a true story, but what is it? Search for Happiness, or what was that? The Will Smith movie?
Yeah. Was it the one where he was he was a homeless guy, and then he goes to become like a lawyer, I think.
I think stockbroker or something like that.
That's what it was.
So in search of happiness, search for happiness or something. That was a happy ending, and that was a real story. So just for that fact, I like that movie. So I like to see movies like that. So
me too, man.
Even if it's complete fiction, but as realistic as possible. That's
listen,
what I like to see.
You know what? Lord of the Rings had a happy ending, all right?
Yes.
I mean, you don't get much crazier than a giant mountain with an eye on it that's like destroying the world. I mean, this movie was nuts. I mean, it had everything, but it had a happy ending. Yes. I feel like if Lord of the Rings can have a happy ending, man, we got to get some happy endings with these robot movies,
Let's not be too focused on happy endings on this broadcast. We're trying to keep it clean.
Well, this is marketing happy hour, isn't it?
It is happy. We do the happy part, and we do eventually end. I guess every episode has a happy ending. So
coming full circle.
It's more reasons to tune in weekly.
So there you go.
So we talked a lot about stuff. Gosh, we were going to all these places.
So speaking of connections and technology and movies,
yes.
Approaching and studying Matrix movies, which they're making number 4, is a very interesting concept. I have been recently, because Matrix 4 is coming up, I rewatched all the old ones, and I'm watching a bunch of YouTube videos about explaining the concepts behind this or making predictions or that sort of thing. What this means, what that means. I know it's all about stories and movies and fiction, but it gives me a lot of things that I find enlightening or practical in real life, that because it's very parallel to many things that happens in our day-to-day life. The way that we connect, the way that we interact or want things from each other,
and that perception is reality.
Yeah, because I guess I like everybody else, I'm living in my own self-created, well-defined matrix.
Yeah, especially if you consider the fact that a lot of these social media websites are really these giant echo chambers where they put all these people together that have the same viewpoints, and if you hang out there long enough, you just kind of feel like the whole world sees things exactly how you see things, and it's
And
not even real.
the algorithm feeds you even more of it.
You don't?
Yeah, it's not even real.
One of the Facebook groups that I really like is by my friend George Bryant, and the name of the Facebook group is Relationships Beat Algorithms.
Yeah.
So that's
I
the
like
way
that.
of doing
do
business and marketing and making
love
real relationships and connection with other people.
That is
And
just
then
perfect.
provide value and grow your business.
Yeah, Ted Rubin uses a hashtag. It's the hashtag. It was RONR, which is your return on relationships. I've always liked that. He's big into branding. But when you talk about matrix thing, somebody mentioned in Rich's broadcast, was it yesterday, 2 days ago? Yesterday. I can't remember what day it is. Yeah, it was yesterday. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, they mentioned the thing about perception and different realities and stuff. And I found this book. This is Flatland. And Flatland is all about somebody coming from the third dimension, trying to explain to two-dimensional beings what the third dimension is all about. And in terms of awareness and consciousness, that kind of, to me, sort of fits into the whole matrix concept. But the matrix is far more detailed. This was done by a mathematician back, I think, in the 1880s or 1890s. And it's fascinating to see how people who live in the flatland perceive triangles and squares and circles, and a sphere just looks like a circle that gets bigger and disappears again. And that's why it's very hard for the sphere to explain, or the circle to explain to all the other shapes what the world of three dimensions looks like.
So it would be the same with that. Understanding the fourth dimension would be for us.
Exactly.
How time works and that sort of thing.
Yep. Same sort of thing, because it's so far beyond our awareness. So for me, when I look at all this stuff in marketing and reaching people and connecting with them, it really is about consciousness or about awareness. You making people aware of who you are, how you can help, and increasing their awareness that you really care about them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
go ahead. Cam, you were going to say something?
Oh, no. I was just going to say, well said, Doc. That's very well said.
I'll have to listen to what the heck it was I said, because I don't remember.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned the blue ocean strategy the other day. And I was remembering that conversation, and that sentence in there, making competition irrelevant. And I was thinking, okay, that's a concept, easy to say, but how do we actually do it? Then I remembered, things that we learned in marketing and copywriting and that sort of thing, by making a real connection with people. So long story short, the conclusion in my head was, the way to make competition irrelevant is to make yourself more relevant.
Right.
Even though you're selling the same service, but by showing that you understand your client's situation and pain and the problem and how your solution fits to that, by making a better connection in all levels of logical and emotional, all of that, you stand out, therefore more relevant, making competition irrelevant.
It's that deeper connection. You almost have these emotional tentacles that are out there connecting with someone.
And if you think about what's the first barrier to entry with that kind of a situation and accomplishing that kind of a goal, I think it's putting yourself out there. And I think it's hard for people to put themselves out there. The same person who's walking around their house talking to their family or their friends, that's not the same person you get when they turn the camera on or the mic on or the type in the thing out. It's like a different thing. And sometimes I think it's hard for people to make that transition,
It's the congruency too, because I think I see that like John, for example. The first thing I noticed about him when we started doing these back in March of last year was that John was the same on camera and off camera. There was like no difference, and that's what I strive for, is to basically be, hey, what you see here now is what you get.
And totally what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
No hiding over here.
So John just talks about his sugar gliders, and there they are. So we know him as RV John, according to Cam. So
RV John, hey man, are you planning trips? Are you planning trips for the springtime?
Planning trips. Trips.
I thought he was doing winter trips. He just winterized the RV, though.
These days, I'm gonna have to drive through that Podunk City where you live.
That Podunk City.
I I gotta go. It's funny. I keep getting more offers from friends. They keep trying to get me to go over to the West Coast, and I can't get over there right now with everything. It's too bad.
You almost got an offer from Rich to
I know.
bring him down from New York to
Cool would
Florida.
that been?
I was trying to hook you guys up for that little road trip, and I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for those conversations that never happened. So.
I know. I just went over like a major slew of RV repairs after all that. I mean, I had like a pile of repairs this summer. It's crazy.
So do you find it easy to connect with people who are RVers or marketers?
I think it's anytime you got a hobby or anything that you share with somebody else, it's easy. You've always got a basis to connect.
Yeah.
Right? We've got this passion, this thing we're passionate about. I actually think it's easier to talk to somebody about something you're really passionate about. It's so easy for me to talk about, mechanical stuff on a RV or whatever, or a remodel that we're working on, or something like that. I do think it's actually a little easier probably than marketing, because it's just like such a passion for both people.
I think you're probably less self-conscious when
you think about any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the self-conscious thing is a tough one, because it's that same fear that people have of public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Except it's public of one. Really.
One, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you guys what, man. So around here, I don't know how it is where you guys are at, but around here, there's 3 topics that no one ever talks about, and that's religion, money, and politics. So everyone's trying to talk from a young age not to talk about those things.
Yeah.
So it's hard to talk about marketing around where I'm at.
That's what my father always told me. My father was in politics, and that was always his thing. Don't ever talk about those 3 subjects. It always ends badly.
Yeah, man, everybody wants to fight.
Yeah.
I heard about that, but I was the grandson of a minister, so there was a lot of religion. So we could not avoid that.
Yeah, we cover both aspects.
But if we don't talk about things, then so we got a bunch of broke people who don't know anything about politics or religion.
That can happen too. I mean, it's funny, because I wound up taking courses at the divinity school when I was in the university, and I did that to become a little more well-rounded. And it was like, everything from New Testament comparisons to Hinduism and pilgrimages and all kinds of things. But what I found was valuable about that, in addition to just, knowing a little bit about different cultures, was that I could use some of those studies and little bits and pieces of trivia in any cocktail party or meeting anybody. Like so-and-so, oh, John, you're from Rochester. Well, this and that, were you ever here? Were you there? Were you there? Cam, Cleveland. Oh, great. How long have you been in marketing? Why do you like email? This and that. There's so many different ways to connect. How many kids do you have? And what was your favorite soda when you were growing up? And how about the candy? And, oh yeah, how about them bills? I love my props. Anyway, but I think that ability to just have a real conversation with people and not to feel that you're performing maybe that's a lost art, because I think any of us who go online and do a live broadcast, we sometimes step it up a little bit. It's more or less like it may be 10% more of what you are in a regular conversation, but it's still really you. And if you really are sincere about connecting with people, you'll be successful. It's just a question of when.
The other thing that I'm glad Cam brought this up, actually, because I think it's important, though, not to avoid those subjects in total, but I do think you have to be open-minded when you're talking about them. You can't get all upset and angry when somebody says something you don't like because you're on one side and they're on the other side. But if you seek to understand and seek to find common ground, it's amazing what you can get out of those conversations. I had a friend of mine, we used to talk about politics all the time. We couldn't have been more complete polar opposites politically, but we had some of the coolest, most interesting conversations that at the end of it, both of us left walking away going, I never really looked at that like that before. Mm-hmm. And I really have to think more clearly about that, because that's a perspective I didn't understand or I didn't have before we had this conversation.
Well, it's this concept of put yourself in the shoes of somebody else, even for a brief moment.
Yeah, but don't get angry. Don't unfriend them. Don't go crazy.
Yeah, you really get nothing out of it. If you get angry, it's like completely unproductive. Nothing happens.
Completely unproductive. But anyways.
Yeah, when I find these topics or any topic, when I'm talking to someone that their idea of listening is just waiting for their turn to talk.
Taking turns talking.
Yeah. I after like few sentences, I opt out basically.
Yeah, man. I've had a few conversations like that, arguments, with people where it felt like we weren't getting anywhere. And when we have arguments like that, it's like exactly what Kayvon's saying. No one's listening to the other person. They're just waiting for your turn to rebuttal.
Yeah. And for me, that's sometimes it's hard because I was so immersed in debate team when I was in high school, and I could argue both sides. That was actually valuable. I could argue the most conservative pro-business side, and I could argue the most liberal, side that you can possibly imagine. And it was always weird, like, trying to defend things like utility rate increases.
But the thing that is valuable about that is you look at each side uniquely and you realize that each side has its own value and go from there.
But it is the values. It's very interesting. I think so. Some of my most incredibly conservative friends, to almost reactionary, I get along with great because we have similar values of integrity and family, and we value truth, and we value so many things, and that we enjoy each other's company so that we could be sailing on their sailboat, for example, and just having the most fabulous time. And then, the next morning at breakfast, Fox News is going there, and it doesn't matter to me. I just tune it out because I'm just not a fan of that particular brand of broadcasting. But these are some of my best friends in the whole world. And so I think it's when you share certain values, I think that trumps, if you pardon the expression, almost any other type of thing, like the religion, the politics, and this and that. Like kindness would be a value, compassion would be a value. If you really value, if for somebody who really values inspiring fear in other people, I'm probably not going to sync with that person.
Yeah, I don't know if this is ethical or not. I don't know, for lack of a better word, but here's the thing, because when I meet someone, I'm interested in what you just said, because at the end of the day, I like to be surrounded by people who are genuinely interested in my betterment and in my growth. Doesn't matter if they agree with me or not, they're interested in me being a better person because I'm interested in the same thing with them. So you want to be able to find those people or select them or filter other ones out. So I sometimes do these little things. I'm going to share one with you. So in the middle of a conversation, I just throw out a word, something like irregardless, which is obviously not a word, right? But I watch how they react to that. If it just goes over their head and they don't know what I'm talking about, I have to rethink if I want to, go deeper in this conversation, or how deep can I go? Or if they notice it and they don't say anything, I try to understand why not. If they just don't care, just let me be wrong, because in future, when I actually make a mistake, I want other people to point that out. And some people point that out, but they do it in a condescending way. Some people point that out, but they do it in a very kind, trying to help me with the situation. So a little test out there like that many times helps me to get a gauge of, initial, as raw as it can get, to have an idea of where this is going, kind of a thing.
So what would your reaction be, or your thought be, the fact that I almost had an epileptic seizure when you said irregardless? I mean, I was just like,
a few things. He's very smart. He's very quick. And he's very sensitive.
I am very sensitive to some of these.
My comment, or my thought when you said that, was, so what do you mean by irregardless?
Yeah. Isn't that relevant?
Yeah.
I was thinking more like irrigation in my head. But
all I was thinking is, okay, we can work with that. Where do we go from here?
I don't know. It's like a hook, right? It's a filler. You send them and see what comes back.
Yeah, just.
I gotta be honest. Usually if I hear someone say something wrong or what I perceive to be wrong, I gotta admit, like if I know what they mean, like I don't feel the need to like correct them on it or anything like that. I just let them keep talking and roll with the conversation. As long as I know what they mean, I'm okay. I guess I feel like it would be a little bit it could be perceived to be arrogant or rude of me to try to correct them. You know, another grown man. I don't know if another grown man wants me to try to correct them on their grammar or something. It feels weird.
I think it goes back to what Chris said at the beginning. It's actually not what they say or what they behave. It's the vibe that I'm gonna get from them after it happens. You know, because some people don't mention it, but it's out of their, you know, they're more like you. They're more interested in the communication and conversations. So the vibe that comes back is determined. There is no, if they do this, it means that kind of a thing.
Yeah, but I think, you know, because I used to do a lot of word association tests many years ago with students for classes that I would teach to doctors. It's always very interesting to throw out a word and see what people's reactions are. And if you get enough words together, you can pretty much figure out what the major types of motivations are in a person and some of the hot buttons and experiences that they may have had in the past that may have created some discord that now manifests either in disease or emotion, hot tempers, or these types of reactions that people have. But seeking to understand, I mean, irregardless, that's a great one. I probably in a cocktail party, if somebody said that to me, I just might give it just a wink and a smile. That might have been my reaction.
I'd look.
I've heard a ton of people use that word. I've heard a ton of people use that word. I didn't even know. I just figured it just meant regardless.
Well, so
regardless.
But that's, Cam, that's because we're living in unprecedented times.
Yes.
It sounds weird though, doesn't it? What does that even mean?
Well, you live by a specific ocean, so you should be, you know, things are more relaxed there.
Yeah,
I do think if you're trying to screen for those people whom you're going to spend the most time with, like everybody's famously talking about the 5 people you spend the most time with are going to be greatly influential. Maybe you need to screen to find out if they are, for example, opportunity seekers or strategic thinkers. You know, going back to Rich's stuff. Maybe you want to find people who are a lot smarter than you, who can help you out in the future, or who can help to raise you up. And then you do the same for other people.
No doubt.
So, I mean, I don't know that I'd want to have a mastermind with 30 people randomly picked off the street.
Especially if they all use the word irregardless.
Regardless of your expectations.
How'd you guys all get in here?
In these unprecedented times.
So that's the key word of the day, irregardless.
Irregardless. I'm thinking more like Lake Irregardless. That's a Western New York joke.
You mentioned word associations. I watched this fascinating TED Talk that was about, you know, the impact of the language and how a culture thinks. Right. I'm going to give you an example for that makes sense to me. I'm from Iran, so my mother tongue is Farsi.
Farsi, yeah.
In English, which is the language that I have been speaking in the past 20 years or so, I don't do translation anymore. I just either this brain or that brain. And you notice the differences. For example, when I tell you guys, hey, I'm alone versus I'm lonely, you hear 2 different things, right?
Yep.
And alone, sometimes actually it's good news. I as in I'm alone, nobody's bothering me.
I'm finally alone.
I'm finally alone. But in Farsi, there is one word for both.
Oh.
So there is that, I don't know what's the right term, ambiguity there. Even so, when I say one of those, my ear hears it again. So that little bit of a sadness, negativity is always associated with it. So see, and that restructures or programs your brain, or evolves it in a certain way. And so there is this group of people, I think in Australia somewhere, that they don't have words for left and right and front and back because of their environment, and they need to navigate. They're always talking north, south, east, west. So depending on where they're standing, like let's say like you go to your northwest. That's how they connect with each other, which becomes very practical. When I was in medical school, when we were talking about the patient, so when we say there is a lesion on the left side, it's neither mine or yours, it's the patient's.
Right.
Having that point of reference. So the study was that they brought people from two different countries in Europe. I think it was German and Spanish, because both languages have a lot of feminine and masculine to their words, but they found a bunch of words that they were reverse. So, for example, the word bridge in one of the languages was masculine, and in the other one was feminine. Then they just ask people, I'm going to give you a word, you give me a few words to describe it. And then for the same object, people described it two different ways. This language said, a bridge is elegant, it's, beautiful, and that sort of thing. The other one said it's sturdy, it's reliable. So the words that they associated with the same concept because of their mother language was very different. So I found that whole idea of using language in that way, or being aware of it, is very fascinating.
Yeah, and language is the way that was probably the primary way by which we connect to other people. So whether it's in emails that we write, or broadcasts, or audio messages, or God forbid somebody uses a telephone to make a call these days. So anyway, so have we gone? I think we've gone to our.
We have.
Oh, we went past it. Holy cow.
Wow.
I think it was because Cam was here. We haven't seen him in a long time.
Oh,
So
man, Jabberjaws.
we had to catch up. Cam withdrawal gave us an extra 12 minutes today. And a Cam connection is better than an infection.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Regardless of where you go.
Regardless of where he is or when he shows up. All right. So that is our episode. Our 4-person episode of the Marketing Happy Hour today, Wednesday, the 20th of January, in the year of our Lord 2021. So we will be back here again next week. I think we may continue with this topic if it interests those of you out here. If you have any suggestions or comments or questions, just put them in the bottom of this video wherever you see it. You might find this on YouTube. You might find it on the Book of Faces. You might find it in our groups. And we will get to you. We'll get pinged, and we will take up your suggestions for future topics. But this is a lively group, and I'm very grateful all of you have shown up today. Is there any final comments that any of you have, starting with the man below me?
Hey, I just want to say it was really fun hanging out with you guys. Again, always an honor and a pleasure. Kayvon, it was awesome meeting you, man. Great to connect. And thanks for having me on, guys.
It's great.
You're welcome. Always good to have you back.
Mr. Paduchak.
Geez, final thoughts. This was a good conversation today. I really enjoyed it. I think especially with all the stuff going on, all the strife between people trying to communicate, I think today was a good day to give them some input on how to make things right and do a better job of it. So, good conversation.
Kayvon, anything that you want to add to the?
Yes, same here. I really enjoyed this conversation. Good. This is very interesting and fascinating. I'm thankful for the things that I learned from you guys. And yes, Cam, it was very nice meeting you. And yeah, let's do more of these things.
We will. And Kayvon, you are a connector.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I am a connector.
You say that
you're very good at it. Exactly. We are all connectors, and we are all connected. And before I sign off, I would just say, that the most important thing is to find the commonality. We are all apparently very different, but there's more that we have in common that connects us than our differences would appear to be. And speaking of differences, go Bills. We'll see you next week. Bye.
There. Bye-bye.